Chapters 43 and 44 of Her Mother's Secret. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Bridget Gage. Chapter 43. Le goes to join his ship. The next morning Dr. Ingle called to keep an appointment with Miss Meeke. He came in his gig to take her to the village to inspect a certain house that he thought of leasing. But she ordered him to send his gig to the stable and let his horse rest, while he availed himself of the family carriage in which to take her and her invited company, her little pupils, to see the house on trial. And these being the days of her power and his slavery, he obeyed without a murmur, and gave up his anticipated tête-à-tête drive with his betrothed with as good a grace as he could assume. Miss Meeke then gave her impromptu invitation to her little friends to accompany her in a drive, and as they eagerly accepted the invitation, she sent Wynnette to order the carriage. All this was done according to a prearrangement with Mrs. Force. "And we will not interrupt you and Leonidas all day long, for we are going to take lunch with us in the carriage, and we won't be home till night, maybe not till morning." "Till daylight doth appear," sang Wynnette, as she kissed her elder sister good by before running out to jump into the carriage. Odalite and Leonidas, standing at the front window of the drawing room, watched their departure until the carriage passed through the west gate and rolled out of sight into the woods beyond. Then they turned toward the fireplace, around, or near, which their father, mother, and guest were seated. And then it was that Mrs. Force announced to the little group the approaching marriage of Dr. Ingle and Miss Meeke. "Natalie going to leave us?" exclaimed Mr. Force, in mock despair. "I never had a dear gazelle to love me with its soft dark eye, but came a loafing ne'er-do-well and stole her from me on the sly." "Girls never know what's their own good," said Mrs. Anglesea, in all solemnity. "Nor no more won't they learn nothing from experience. One girl marries and comes to grief. Another sees that and marries and comes to grief also. A third does likewise. A fourth follows suit, and so on to the end of the chapter. Girls are just what I read summers or other about them and the pigs and the hot swill. You set a pail of it in the yard, and one pig will run and dip his nose into it and run off scalded and squealing like mad. Another sees that, but all the same dips his nose and runs off scalded and squealing like a house afire. And a third does likewise, and a fourth follows suit, and so on till the whole herd are scalded. And the girls are just like that," concluded the lady from the land of gold. "Oh, I hope not," said Mrs. Force. "To leave a good home, where she has full run and plenty of everything, and not a care or a trouble on the face of the earth, and to go and marry a young country doctor, with his way to make. And I know the way of country doctors, you bet. Oh, yes, they have a large practice and a wide one. But as to the pay, oh, Lord! They ride scores and scores and scores of miles, day in and day out, and night after night, and never can be sure of a single night's rest or a single meal's vittles from year's end to year's end. But when it comes to pay, Lord bless you, they gets more kicks than halfpence, so to speak." "We hope it will fare better with our young couple," said Mr. Force, with a smile. "Well, go on hoping, man. There's no law agin it," said the lady, leaning back in her softly cushioned chair and crossing her fat hands on her lap. The driving party did not stay out until night, as Wynnette had threatened. The young doctor's professional duties, unprofitable as they might be to himself, would not admit of such a long holiday. They returned to Mondreer in good time for dinner, for which Dr. Ingle, at Mrs. Force's invitation, remained. But immediately after they arose from the table he made his apologies, entered his gig, which had been brought around to the door, and drove away to make his professional calls. As soon as he had left, Miss Meeke, overwhelmed with the consciousness of her position, stole away to her own room. And then Wynnette and Elva, full of the importance of their communication, broke out with their wonderful piper's news that Miss Meeke was going to be married to Dr. Ingle, and they were going to housekeeping in a beautiful new cottage in the village, and that they, Wynnette and Elva, were to go whenever they pleased to spend weeks and weeks with the newly wedded pair, who would always keep a lovely bedroom for their use. Every one present had the good nature to receive this story as the very newest news, and to be delightfully surprised and enchanted to hear it. After dinner the evening passed, as usual during the holiday week, in merry parlor games. On Sunday the whole family went to church, where, it is pleasant to record, the congregation stared less at the Forces and occupied themselves more with their devotions than they had been able to do on Christmas Day. "You see," said Wynnette, confidentially, to Elva, on their way home, that it was better for Odalite to take the bull by the horns at once, to face the music promptly, to break the ice bravely, to take the plunge and have it all over. Oh, you know what I mean well enough, Elf, although you pretend to look so puzzled. I mean, it was wise in Odalite to go to church on Christmas Day just as usual, just as if nothing had happened there on the Tuesday before, and have it all over. And now it is all over. The great gun is fired, and no one is killed or wounded. That is to say that Odalite has made her first appearance in public after her catastrophe, and she has stood all the staring and has lived through it. And now she has made her second appearance, and escaped all the staring. And the battle has been fought, and victory won. Do you understand?" "I understand a little, but if you go on explaining I shall not understand at all," replied Elva, with the cruel candor of childhood. And the subject was immediately dropped. On Monday morning, while the family party were gathered in the drawing room, opening their letters and papers, which the mail messenger had just brought from the post office, there came an early visitor. Tom Grandiere, looking more red-headed, freckle-faced, blushing and blundering than usual, arrived, as the bearer of a verbal invitation to attend an informal party, to be composed mostly of young people, at Oldfield Lodge, on Thursday evening, the 31st, to dance the Old Year out and the New Year in. But although, as he bashfully explained, it was understood and intended to be a young folks' entertainment, yet the elders of the family were invited, and expected to be present with them. This was quite in accordance with the custom of the country, or at least of the county, as had been shown at the Christmas Eve gathering at Mondreer. "We thank you very much, and we shall like to go, if we can," said Mrs. Force, as she left her seat and went to the front window, where Odalite stood looking out on the fast gathering clouds. "You heard Tom Grandiere's message, dear?" she asked in a low tone. "Yes, mamma," answered Odalite, who slipped a letter into her pocket. "Then it depends on you, dear, whether we accept the invitation or not. If you prefer to stay quietly at home, be sure that we shall not go and leave you alone." "Then I prefer to go, mamma. I could not bear that the children should be disappointed. And, indeed," she added, seeing that her mother hesitated, "I shall enjoy going." "Very well, dear," said Mrs. Force, and she went back and spoke to Tom Grandiere, accepting, in the name of her whole family, the invitation of which he was the bearer. Tom then arose, and saying that he had yet to go to a good many other houses, took leave and departed. CHAPTER XLIV. ANGLESEA AGAIN. Mrs. Force went up to her daughter and said: "Come with me to my own room. I have something to say to you." Odalite immediately followed her mother to that little parlor which had been the scene of so many critical interviews. When the door was shut, and the mother and daughter were seated together before the fire, the lady inquired: "Odalite, my love, what letter was that which you received by this morning's mail, and put into your pocket the moment I joined you at the window?" "Oh, mamma, it was a little note that would only have given you pain," said Odalite, shrinking. "Yet, what was it? Tell me." "It was a letter from him, mother, written on Saturday morning, an hour before he sailed for Liverpool. It was directed on the outside to Miss Odalite Force, but on the inside to Mrs. Angus Anglesea." The serpent! He knew full well that, if he had presumed to offer us such an affront as to give you his name where your father could see it, the insult would never have been permitted to reach your eyes. Where is the letter, Odalite? Let me see it." The girl took the paper from its envelope, and in wrath and scorn read as follows: "To Mrs. Angus Anglesea, my wife, for wife you are, despite all the false testimony brought forward to separate us. I was forced by circumstances to depart from you without a last farewell. Yet I cannot deny myself the privilege of writing to you a last letter before I leave the country, to assure you that I am your lawful husband, lord and master, who will never yield one jot or tittle of his rights to mortal man or woman, but who will contest them if need be through every court in the country, and, if driven to extremity, will defend them at the sword's point. I refer you to your mother for proofs in her possession, proofs which I gave her, which must convince you that our marriage was a perfectly regular and legal transaction, and that you are, therefore, my lawful wife. And I exhort you to be wise, prudent and faithful to your marriage bonds, for be assured, I am not one who will brook offense, but who will follow with swift, sharp vengeance the slightest infringement of my rights. I remain, and I intend to remain, until death, your husband. Angus Anglesea. New York, December, 18 . When Mrs. Force had read this delectable epistle, she tossed it into the fire, where it quickly blazed up and burned to ashes. "There," she said, "it is gone. Forget it, my dear. It was nothing but the vain boast of a brute, a coward and a braggadocio. He is on the ocean now, a fugitive from justice. Yes, my dear, no less. He could not stay in this country without the danger of being prosecuted for bigamy and sent to the State prison. He dared not stay and face that peril. In all human probability we shall never see him again." "But, mamma, has can he have any claim on me? He referred me to you for proof that he has. What proof did he mean, mamma?" pleaded the girl. "I do not believe that he has any claims on you, Odalite," gravely replied the lady. "But, mamma, do you know that he has not?" inquired poor Odalite, in an excess of anxiety. "He has no claim that either the law or the gospel would sustain, or that your father would admit for a single instant." "Oh, mamma, but has he any? Oh, mother, dear mother, speak plainly to me! He referred me to you for proofs that the marriage of last Tuesday was a lawful one. What proofs? What did he mean, mother?" pleaded Odalite, wringing her hands in growing doubt and distress. "He meant to brag, to boast, to threaten to make you grieve, fear and suffer, the brute, the poltroon, the miscreant!" hissed the lady, stamping her foot. "But, mother, oh, mother, the proofs he spoke of!" persisted Odalite, white with dread. "They are no proofs of anything; but I will tell you what he was writing of. 2 days after the scene at the All Faith Church, while your father and your cousin were both out, that outlying brigand seized the opportunity for which he had been watching, and came in here to see and threaten me." "Oh, mother, dear mother!" said Odalite, in tender compassion. "Never mind, my child. He is away now, thank Heaven! His talk to me was all of a piece with his letters to you. That is enough to say about it, except that during the interview he told me something that I believe to be a mere tissue of falsehoods." "And what was that, mamma?" "He told me think of the audacity and shamelessness of such an avowal! He told me that at the time he married the Widow Wright, at St. Sebastian, he had a wife living in London." "Oh, mother!" said Odalite, with a low cry of horror. "To prove it, he took a slip of paper from his pocketbook which he said was cut from the London Times, and which he said that he had received while staying at Niagara with us. It was, in fact, the notice of the death of his wife, and I remember rightly it ran something like this: 'Died, suddenly at Anglewood Manor, on August 25th, in the 49th year of her age, Lady Mary, eldest daughter of the late and sister of the present Earl of Middlemoor, and wife of Colonel the Honorable Angus Anglesea, late of the H.E.I.C.S.' There, Odalite, I have tried to reproduce from memory the proof that he produced to establish as facts that his first wife was living at the time of his marriage with the Widow Wright, which was, consequently, not binding, and that she died some months before his marriage with yourself, which is, according to him, lawful and binding." "Oh, mother, mother! There seems to be no doubt of it!" wailed Odalite, throwing her arms over the table and dropping her head upon it in a sudden collapse of despair. "Even if there were no doubt about the matter, even if he has a legal claim upon you, it is not a moral or Christian one, but a technicality which your father will never admit, even if that man should dare to come back and urge it." "But, oh, mother, he will come back some time, when he thinks the danger past, and he will put the screws upon you and me as he did before. He will make me declare that my happiness depends upon my reunion to him, my legal husband. He will make you plead with my father to give me up without bringing the matter into court," said Odalite, moaning, rather than speaking the words. "Even if he should, even if you should declare that you wish to be reunited to that monster of wickedness, and even if I were to plead your cause, I tell you that your father would not only see you unhappy, but he would see you dead before he would give you up to Angus Anglesea. He would prosecute him, and settle his claim in that way." "But, Odalite, I do not believe that notice of his wife's death to be just what it purported to be, or just what he represented it to be." "What do you mean, mother, dear? How can you doubt, when you yourself saw the printed slip with name, place, day and date, family relations, all complete?" "Ah, me! I wish there was room for doubt." "There is wide room for doubt. The date of the day and of the month is given, but not the date of the year, in that slip, and I saw nothing but the slip, not the paper it was cut from. How, then, do I know that his first wife did not die on August 25th, 2 years ago, or 10 years ago, instead of in August of this year, it would be like him to produce an old obituary notice for purposes of deception." "Oh!" exclaimed Odalite, as the new light of hope dawned on her mind. "I confess that I did not think of this view of the case when he first showed me the notice, and therefore I was utterly bowed down by the sight of it. But now, the more I reflect upon it, the more convinced I feel that it was a notice of a death in an August of some previous year. Why, now I think of it, the very paper was soft and dark, and the printing was blurred, as by age and handling. Oh, mother, if I could but be certain that I am free!" sighed Odalite. "Be certain of this, that you are free from him. He dare not return to this country to annoy you. He may write you threatening letters. Put them in the fire, and forget them." "And dear, true, noble Le!" sighed the girl. "Of course there must be no thought of an engagement between Leonidas and yourself. He has given me his word of honor that there shall not be. You may correspond as brother and sister, but his letters to you must, as a mere matter of prudence, come under cover to me. In 3 years Le will return to us. Much may happen in 3 years. But in the meantime, oh, my daughter, keep innocency!" CHAPTER 45.